So I'll continue with the module 3. Module 3 is about channel structure of LTE. As I have defined this as a part 3, we'll be moving with the another topic, major topic of this channel structure of LTE. Today we'll discuss about downlink OFDMA radio resource. Downlink OFDMA radio resources in LTE and as well as the uplink resources will be using a different transmission schemes because of different considerations. In downlink, there will be a scalable OFDMA transmission or a multi-access technique that allows for a high spectrum efficiency by utilizing the multi-user diversity in a frequency selective manner. Yeah, students, only few have joined the class. No problem. I have to complete the syllabus. I request you, please mute your mic. Don't disturb the class. If you are interested, continue the class. I'll once again start with the beginning of this session. Today we'll discuss about a major topic of the module 3. Module 3 gives the information about the channel structure of LTE. Today we'll discuss about OFDM downlink radio resources. In LTE, the downlink and uplink uses the different transmission schemes due to the different considerations. In the downlink, a scalable OFDM transmission or a multi-access technique is used that allows a high spectrum efficiency transmission by utilizing multi-user diversity in the frequency selective channels. SSC FDMA transmission and the multi-access techniques are used in the uplink since it reduces the PAPR ratio, that is the peak to average power ratio of the transmitted signal. Coming to the OFDM for downlink, the transceiver structure of OFDM will be supported with either IIFT or FFT technique, which enables the scalable of the bandwidth operation with a low complexity, which is the major objective of your LTE. As each subscriber becomes a flat fading channel in OFDM, and it is compared to a single carrier transmission, the OFDM makes it easier to support the multi-antenna transmission, which is one of the key techniques to enhance the spectrum efficiency. OFDM enables the multicast or a broadcast services on a synchronized single frequency network, which treats signal from different base station is propagating through a multipath channel and can effectively combine them using the different multiplexing techniques. The multiple access in the downlink is purely based on OFDMA technique. Before going on to the details about the resource block, first we'll discuss about the frame structures involved in the time domain. This frame structure is a common element shared by both the downlink and uplink. In LTE specification, the size of each element in time domain is expressed as the number of time units. time units T, which is given by 1 divided by 15,000 into 2048 seconds, where 15,000 is your subcarrier frequency F, and that 2048 is the total number sampling time used in FFT based OFDM transmitter or a receiver. So it is a size NFFT or N, which is either in a transmitter and receiver, its value will be 2048. So the total number of time units in the time domain is given by T is equal to 1 divided by 15,000 into 2048 seconds. These are the standard parameters which will be used in OFDM downlink transmission. Depending upon the transmission bandwidth, the different parameter varies. If it is 1.4, these are the values of different parameters. If the transmission bandwidth is 3 megahertz, these are the parameters, the standard parameters of the different parameters values. This is for 5 megahertz, 10 megahertz, 15 megahertz, and 20 megahertz. Coming to the frame structure type 1. Frame structure type 1 is applicable for both full duplex and half duplex FDD, frequency division duplexing. There will be 3 different kinds of units specified in the frame structure, and the structure will be shown in the next slide. Here, the one smallest unit we call it as an slot, and length of each slot will be 0.5 milliseconds, which is taken as S slot is equal to 15,360 into TS. The 2 consecutive slots will be calling it as a subframe, and length will be 1 millisecond. Because one slot is 0.5 millisecond, the 2 slots will call it as a subframe. Definitely the length of one subframe will be 1 millisecond, and there will be 20 slots in one frame, which is numbered as 0 to 9, and total radio frame length will be 10 milliseconds. And there will be a channel dependent scheduling and the link adaptation operation for every subframe level, and the subframe duration will be corresponding to the minimum downlink transmission time intervals. If there is a shorter transmission time interval, then the fast link adaptation can be provided, and it is able to reduce the delay and the better exploitment of the time varying channel through a channel dependent scheduling. This slide gives you about the frame structure of type 1. Please concentrate. One radio frame will be having the total length of 10 milliseconds. There will be a 20 slots. Each slot duration will be 0.5 millisecond. 2 slots together, we name it as a one subframe. Each subframe will be 1 millisecond duration. Coming to the one slot, this complete picture will give you the one slot. Here, there will be an OFDM symbols. The duration of OFDM symbols will be 66.7 microseconds. And the normal cyclic prefix time will be added to it. If there is an extended cyclic prefix time, then the time will be more for a TCP, but whereas the OFDM symbol time remains only 66.7 microseconds. Depending upon the time, the OFDM symbol varies. This is the standard parameter values. We'll move on to the frame structure type 2. The frame structure type 2 is applicable for the TDD mode, the time division duplexing mode. It is defined for a coexistence with a 3GPP time division SDMA based standard transmission technique. Once again, in the structure type, frame structure type 2 radio frame, the total length TF will be, that is TF is the time of the complete frame is given by 30,720 into TS, that is equal to 10 milliseconds, which consists of 2 half frames of 5 millisecond each. Each half frame is divided into 5 subframes of 1 millisecond each. In this 5 subframes, we have 3 major fields which are called as downlink pilot time slot, uplink pilot time slot, and guard period. This is the Now we'll move on to the frame structure type 2. In this, we can make out the total frame time is 10 millisecond and complete frame is divided into 2 subframes with the time duration of 5 millisecond. First subframe consists of 0 to 4 slots and second subframe consists 5 to 9 slots. Totally there will be 10 slots. 10 subframe, and each subframe will be having 2 slots, and once again one slot will be 0.5 milliseconds. It is so 2 slot we call it as one subframe 0 to subframe 9, whereas subframe 0 to subframe 4 will fall into the first half of the total frame. Can you make out here? Each subframe is divided into 3 fields: DWPTS, GP, UPPTS. This DWPTS nothing but downlink pilot time slot, uplink pilot time slot, and guard period. Here, the downlink pilot time slot, it is the downlink part of the special frame, and its length can be varied from 3 up to 12 OFDM symbol. The total length of this downlink pilot time slot can be varied from 3 up to 12 OFDM symbols. Uplink pilot time slot, it is the uplink part of the special frame. It has a short duration with 1 or 2 OFDM symbols, and it can be used for transmission of uplink sounding reference signals and the random accessible preambles. Guard period is the remaining symbols of the subframe will be allocated in this guard period. It is used to provide the guard period for the downlink to the uplink and also uplink to the downlink switch. Now, the resource blocks of OFDM, we call it as a physical resource blocks of OFDMA. The physical resource in the downlink in each slot is prescribed or described by a time frequency grid called as a resource grid. So total physical resource block in the downlink in each slot is described as time frequency grid, and it is called as resource grid. Such a time frequency plan representation is a common practice in OFDM system, which makes to initiate for radio resource allocation. Each column and each row of resource grid is corresponds in one OFDM symbol and one OFDM subcarrier respectively. So each column and each row of the resource grid corresponds to one OFDM symbol and one OFDM subcarrier respectively. The duration of resource grid in each time domain corresponds to one slot in radio frame. The smallest time frequency unit in the resource grid is denoted as a resource element. Each resource grid consists of number of resource blocks which describe the mapping of certain physical channels to resource elements. So this gives you the structure of downlink resource grid. Once again, you can make out here the one radio frame for an downlink, where the total time for the radio frame TF is equal to 10 milliseconds. There will be totally 20 slots. 2 slots together, we call it as one subframe. One slot will be 0.5 millisecond duration. In one slot, you can make out this is the resource grid. In the resource grid, you can make out there is a rows and so columns and rows. Columns represents the column represents the OFDM symbol, whereas the row represents the OFDM subcarriers. Can you make out here? There will be a small element called as a resource element of K, L. This completely will be a resource block, which is given with a highlighted line. There will be a number of resource elements in a resource block. A number of resource block will constitute the resource grid. So we'll now analyze what are these N, DL, RB, NRC, SP, all these. Resource grid. The structure of each resource grid is characterized by 3 parameters. The number of downlink resource blocks. It purely depends upon the transmission bandwidth, and this bandwidth should fulfill the following condition. The total number of downlink resource block NDLRB should be greater than the minimum number of downlink resource block and should be less than the maximum number of downlink resource blocks. The number of subcarriers in each resource block is given by NRBSC, and it depends on the subcarrier spacing delta F, which satisfies the condition number of resource block subcarriers should be equal to 180 kilohertz, and each resource block of 180 kilohertz wide in the frequency domain. The number of OFDM symbols in each block is given by NDL symbol and depends upon the cyclic prefix length and the subcarrier spacing. Considering all these 3 parameters, the total downlink resource grid has the total number of resource elements given by number of downlink resource block multiplied with the number of subcarriers in each resource block and number of symbol in a downlink. So this formula gives you the total number of resource elements present in the downlink resource grid. For example, if you take the bandwidth as a 10 megahertz and the delta F as a 15 kilohertz with a normal cyclic prefix values, then from the table I have shown you previously, which gives the standard parameter values, the total number of downlink resource block will be 50. The total number of subcarriers in the resource block will be 12. The total number of downlink symbols will be 7 as per the standard table. Then the total number of resource element present in the downlink resource grid is given by 50 into 12 into 7, that is 4,200. In the case of multi-antenna transmission, one resource grid is defined per one antenna port. And the set of antenna port supported depends upon the reference signal configuration in the cell. There are different reference signals are considered. Cell-specific reference signal will support the configuration of either 1, 2, or 4 antenna ports. And antenna port number P shall fulfill the condition P should be greater is equal to 0, belongs to the 0 or 1, or P value should belong to 0, 1, 2, 3 respectively. If it is one antenna, it should have the 0 antenna port. If there is a 2 antennas, 0 or 1 port should be there. If there is a 4 antenna ports, then the antenna port number P should satisfy either 0, 1, 2, 3 respectively. Then MDSFN, multiple broadcast single frequency network reference signals are transmitted on antenna port 4, and the user equipment specific reference signal are transmitted on antenna port with a P is equal to 5. So far we analyzed the resource grid. Now coming to the resource element. Each resource element in the resource grid is uniquely defined by the index pair k, L in the slot, where k value varies from 0 to total number of downlink resource block into total number of subcarriers in the resource block minus 1, and L value is given by either 0, 1 up to total number of downlink symbols minus 1. These are the indices for the frequency and time domain respectively. The size of each resource element depends upon the subcarrier spacing delta F and the cyclic prefix length. Resource block is the basic element of radio resource allocation. The minimum size of radio resource that can be allotted is the minimum transmission time interval in the time domain, that is one subframe is equal to 1 milliseconds and corresponds to the 2 resource blocks. The size of each resource block is same for all bandwidth, which is 180 kilohertz in the frequency domain. There are 2 kinds of resource blocks defined in LTE, physical and virtual resource block, which are defined for the different resource allocation schemes. Moving with the uplink SSC FDMA radio resources. For LTE uplink transmission, we use the SSC FDMA technique with the proper cyclic prefix. SSC FDMA possesses the most of the merits of OFDMA along with the lower peak to average power ratio. Because of the lower PAPR ratio, this technique is highly desirable for uplink as it is less expensive with the power amplifiers and are needed at the user equipments, and coverage will be better compared to the previous techniques. In LTE, the SSC FDMA signal is generated by DFT spread spectrum OFDM. Frame structure is similar to the downlink with the difference that SSC FDMA symbol and SSC FDMA subcarriers are used. In frame structure type 1, the uplink radio frame consists of 20 slots with 0.5 millisecond each, and one subframe consists of 2 slots, same as downlink frame structure. Frame structure type 2 consists of 10 subframes with 1 or 2 special subframes including DW PTS, GP and UP PTS fields. A cyclic prefix is inserted prior to each SSC FDMA symbol. Each slot carrier 7 SSC FDMA symbol in the case of normal CP and 6 SSC FDMA symbols in the case of extended CP are involved in one slot. Physical resource block for SSC FDMA is regarded as a conventional OFDMA with a DFT-based precoder, and the resource grid for the uplink is similar to the one of the downlink. It comprises the number of resource block in time frequency plane. The number of resource block in each resource grid is given as NULRB, number of resource block for uplink, depends upon the uplink transmission bandwidth configured in the cell and should satisfy the following condition. The number of resource block for the uplink should fall in this range should be equal or greater than number of minimum resource block for the uplink, and should be less than or equal to number of maximum resource block used for the uplink. This is the resource grid structure for the uplink. Once again, you can make out here. One radio frame will be having the time period of TF is equal to 10 milliseconds. There will be 20 slots. 2 slots together, we call it as one subframe. One slot will be 0.5 millisecond duration, and one time slot will be having a resource grid of this structure. This resource grid consists of resource block and resource elements. Here, there will be the rows represents the total number of subcarriers used in the resource block, and the column represents the total number of uplink symbols used. Resource allocation. Similar to downlink, shared channel transmission and channel dependent scheduling are supported in the uplink. The resource allocation in the uplink is preferred at the E node, that is the base station of your LTE network. Based on the channel quality measured on the uplink sounding reference signal and the scheduling request sent for user equipments, the E node assigns a unique time frequency resource to a scheduled user equipment. And this user equipment achieves all these using the orthogonal intra-cell transmission. Such an intra-cell orthogonality in the uplink is preserved between the user equipment by using the timing advance such that the transport blocks of different user equipments are received synchronously at the E node B. This provides the significant coverage and the capacity gain in the uplink, which employs the non-orthogonal transmission as the UMTS. And the performance is limited by the inter-channel interference. In general, the SSC FDMA is able to support both the localizer and the distributed resource allocation. The current specification, only localized resource allocation, is supported in the uplink, which preserves a single carrier property and better exploit the multi-user diversity gate in the frequency domain. Compared to the distributed resource allocation, the localized resource allocation is less sensitive to frequency offset and also requires the fewer reference symbols. This uplink transmission is also supported with the multiple input and multiple output modes. The multi-user MIMO is supported, which allocates the same time and the frequency resource for the two user equipments, which each transmitting on a single antenna. This is also called spatial division multiplexing, SSC FDMA, spatial division multiple access. The advantage is that only one transmitting antenna is used per user equipment. To separate streams of different UVs, channel state information is required at the base station, which is obtained through the uplink reference signal that are orthogonal between the user equipments. Uplink multi-user, multiple input, multiple output technique also requires a power control, as the near-far problem arises when the multiple user equipments are multiplexed on the same radio resource. Coming to the downlink transport channel processing. As we know already, the physical layer provides the services to the MAC layer through the transport channels. Data and control stream coming from the MAC layer are organized in the form of a transport blocks. Each block is a group of resource blocks with a common modulation and coding scheme. The downlink physical layer processing mainly consists of channel coding and the modulation processing. Channel coding involves the mapping of incoming transport blocks from MAC layer into the different code words. Modulation process generates the complex valued OFDM baseband signal for each antenna port, and which are converted into a carrier frequency so that it can be transmitted over a physical layer. This block diagram gives you an overlink of downlink transport channel processing. As we know already, this channel processing is consists of two types of processing techniques: channel coding processing and modulation processing. Channel coding processing, here the transport blocks are first subjected to an CRC addition, cyclic redundancy check addition. Then these transport blocks are divided into a number of sub-blocks. We call it as code block segmentation. Then channel coding takes place. rate matching process takes place, then code block concatenation process takes place. Whereas in a modulation process, we can come across scrambling, modulation mapping, layer mapping, pre-coding, resource mapping, and OFDM signal generation. We discuss all these sub-processes in detail. Channel coding processing. This section describes the generic channel coding procedure that are used for various data and control transport channels. These common aspects of channel coding are applicable both for downlink as well as uplink transmission. Channel coding for downlink is a combination of error detection, error correction, rate matching, interleaving, and transport channel control information mapping onto physical channels. In the next slide, we'll observe the channel coding processing figure. The channel encoding provides an error control mechanism for data transmission using the forward error correction code and error detection based on cyclic redundancy check, that is CRC check. For some shared transport channels, the error control mechanism is coupled with a retransmission mechanism using the hybrid automatic request protocol. The control mechanism will be used. So this slide you give the channel encoding processing. Can you see here the transport block is subjected to the CRC attachment. For the transport block, the cyclic redundancy check code bits are added. Then code block segmentation takes place. The entire transport block is divided into number of code blocks named as code block 1 along with the CRC, code block 2 up to code block C along with the CRC. Then these code blocks are coded, that we call it as a channel coding. After channel coding, this complete code block 1 and CRC is converted into coded block 1 continuously up to coded block C. Then rate matching process is carried out. Then code block concatenation process is carried out in this encoding process. This combined error control and the retransmission mechanism improves the link reliability significantly in fading channels, as it is opposed to performing these two steps separately. In LTE, the coding rate at the channel encoder is fixed, and different effective coding rates for whole transport block is achieved by repetition or puncturing during the rate matching procedure. So one by one we'll discuss again. CRC. CRC codes are added to the transport, that is the transport blocks. It is used to provide the error detection on a transport block. It generates the parity bits by cyclic generator polynomials, and they are added at the end of transport block. The CRC bits are added at the end of transport block. The number of parity bits can be either 8, 6 or 24. Whereas a 24-bit CRC is the baseline for the downlink shared channel in LTE. Code block segmentation is performed when the number of bits in the sequence after CRC attachment, that is B is the block code, is larger than the maximum code block size. For a turbo encoder, this block size is taken as a 6144. Depending upon the type of the encoders, already I have studied in the coding technique in a another subject. So here we are using the turbo encoder technique with a Z value is equal to C144, which will generate the code block with which is named as a B with a proper CRC attachment. Channel coding in LTE is done with the encoders applied to a transport channel, including the tail bitting convolution coding as a convolution turbo coding. So what are the coding methods used in here? The tail bitting convolution coding and the convolution turbo coding is used. These are the standard coding schemes and the coding rates in the transport channel, downlink transport channel. If the transport channel is DL, SSCH, PCH, MCH, the coding scheme will be turbo coding and the coding rate will be 1/3. In a BCH channel, tail bitting convolution coding is used with a code rate of 1/3. Channel coding schemes and the coding rate for the downlink control channel will be different for the downlink control information, whereas the DCI, CFI and HI, these are the control information. That's coding scheme used will be tail bitting convolution coding or a block coding and the repetition coding respectively, with the code rate of 1/3, 1/16 and 1/3 respectively. Rate matching. The main task of the rate matching is to extract the exact set of bits to be transmitted within the given TTI, that is the transmission time interval. Total how many set of bits are transmitted? The value should be exact value that can be extracted using the rate matching. To enable the operation of incremental redundancy based on the HIRQ in LTE, the rate matching is expected to provide the different subsets of the code block for the different transmission of packet. The rate matching in LTE performs the interleaving as well as the repetition or a puncturing in the order to generate the transport block that fits the payload size determined by the modulation schemes and the number of resource block allocated as per the transport block. Rate matching is defined for coded block and consists of following stages: sub-blocking, interleaving, bit collection and bit selection. These are the different sub-processes involved in rate matching process. Sub-blocking interleaving. The interleaving is performed independently for each bit stream done by a block interleaver with inter-column permutations. The inter-column permutation patterns are different for turbo coding and convolution coding. Here, the diagram gives you the rate matching for a coded transport channels. The coded blocks are taken, the systematic stream is added, the parity stream, like that, the CRC bits are added. Then sub-block interleaving process will take place, will divide the total block into sub-blocks. Then bit collection process will be taken, then bit selection process will be taken. Bit collection is a virtual circular buffer is performed by collecting the bits from the interleaved. The systematic bits are placed at the beginning, followed by bit by interstreams. These streams of two interleaved parity streams are shown in the previous figure. The interlacing of two guarantees that an equal number of parity, either parity 1 or parity 2 bits are transmitted. Bit selection. To select the output bit sequence, the sequence length L should first be determined, which depends upon the number of allocated resource blocks, modulation scheme, and also MIMO mode, multiple input and multiple output mode. Then L bits are read from the virtual circular buffer. The starting point of the bit selection depends upon the redundancy version of the current transmission, which is different for different retransmission associated with the HIRQ process. This means that one HIRQ transmission to the next, even though the number of bits L is the same, the parity bits that are punctured or repeat can be a different one. This is indicated by the redundancy version in HIRQ transmission. During bit selection, if the end of the buffer is reached, the reading continues by wrapping around the beginning of the buffer. In this way, the puncturing or the repetition can be achieved by using the unified method. The last process in coding is the code block concatenation. The code block concatenation consists of sequentially concatenating the rate matching outputs for different code blocks, forming the code word input to the modulation processing. It is needed only for turbo coding when the number of code blocks is larger than 1.